friends, I have another video to share with you this week because two things. One, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and so I have an idea for you around that and a book to share. Also, we're leading up to Mother's Day, so I have a little activity for an idea for a Mother's Day card that you might create. So the book I want to share is Letter to My Teacher, and I shared this with a few classes last year, and it's just a really beautiful story. One we can kind of all relate to, I think. I hope you remember me. I was the one who marched to school that first day, splashing through every puddle I could find. I wore a bright yellow raincoat and a dark, stormy frown. Because for me, school meant sitting still and listening, two things I was not very good at. I stood there ornery and dripping, just sure I'd get in trouble, but instead you just grinned at me. Good morning, look at you standing there looking like Mary Kingsley, just back from canoeing up the Agui River. Who? I asked. Where? Mary Kingsley, the fearless explorer, you replied. Someday we'll read about her and crocodiles. Now go get the mop. Crocodiles? After taking attendance, you made a big announcement. Welcome! This year we'll be planting the first ever second grade garden. It will be our great experiment. Yay, we get a dig in the mud, I shouted. True, but first we read about plants, you said. We'll use math to measure our plot. We'll write our garden plan. Reading, math, writing. I was much better at running and jumping. The next week, we visited the creek behind the school to learn about plants and water. When you weren't watching, I started to hop the rocks, and right in the middle, I got stuck. Look at me, I'm Mary What's-Her-Name, I hollered, trying to sound brave. Watch out for the crocodiles, you yelled back, and then you rushed to help me. On the way back, you held my hand, and you never told anyone how much I was shaking. All fall, I tried so hard to sit still. Right before Thanksgiving vacation, you asked who wanted to take the Mouse Brothers home. Me, pick me, I shouted. But while I was busy eating turkey, my cat Lucy ate one brother. I bought a replacement mouse, but I just couldn't tell you. One day when we were cleaning their cage, you called me over to your desk and said that we might have to change the brothers' names to Ma and Pa Mouse. You knew the whole time, I said. Laughing, you said, might as well get used to it. Teachers see everything. When winter came, the reading corner became our secret garden of stories. On Friday afternoons, we all curled up in a heap to listen, just like our new litter of mice. I loved it when you read to us, and I always begged for more, but I hate being called on to read out loud because I kept tripping over words. Once, right before my turn, I yelled, "Raise your hand if you want to go home." Another time, I clutched my throat and croaked, "Oh, I lost my voice." Nothing fooled you, though. You called me to your desk and asked, when we make our garden, do you think the seeds will grow right away? No, I said. Everyone knows they need water, sun, and time. Learning to read takes time, too, you said. Now, I think you have a cat. I nodded. Yeah, Lucy, who likes to eat mice. I'd like you to read to Lucy every day, you suggested. It might keep her out of trouble. I giggled. Maybe I'll read her Puss in Boots. I practiced hard, and you gave me extra help too. One day you brought me a special book. I met a real author and he autographed it just for you, you said. I looked at the cover and sounded out the words. What? Wow, it's about her, the explorer, Mary Kingsley? You smiled. Next week, you can share it with the class. In March, we explored our town. We went on a field trip to an old house. It was full of history and secret stairways. When I slipped away to look for hidden treasure in the root cellar, you and the whole class had to trudge down the old stone steps to find me. I think even you lost your patience that time. Exasperating was the word that you used. I remember because that night my mom helped me look it up in the dictionary. The day you brought in seeds for us to choose, I tugged on your shirt. Can we plant this kind? The packet says early spring. We can have bright red radishes in just a few weeks. Good reading and good idea, you said. Thanks to the math games we played, measuring our garden patch was easy. At last we turned over our soil and we were ready to plant. I was the radish crew chief and read the instructions all by myself. All spring we weeded and watered and kept garden journals too. On the Friday before summer vacation, we wrote out invitations to every class to come enjoy the salad that we'd grown ourselves. Splendid spinach, said the principal. It's because of the worms, I explained. I didn't know how to say thank you, so on the last day I gave you a present, a memory quilt. I'd measured squares on paper and made the story of our year in each one. The reading corner, worms in our compost, the magnificent mouse family, and best of all, a picture of you and me. You looked at the quilt a long time, then held it up for everyone to see. Thank you. Now I'll never forget you all and the year of the second grade garden. Me neither, I promised, and I never have. For a long time now, I've been wanting to write to tell you that even though I didn't always listen, and I know I was exasperating, second grade was really the best year ever. So I guess you won't be too surprised to hear that I still like to stomp through creeks, dig in the garden, and even read out loud to my cat. Most of all, I want to tell you that I'm about to start my first job. And tomorrow morning when I go to work, I will think about everything that you helped me explore, and I'll try my best to be like you. Thank you for being my teacher. From your student. I think that's such a beautiful story, and I hope it might inspire some of you to write a letter to your teacher. I've had letters from students over the years. I actually started my career as a sixth grade teacher, and one of my students is now a teacher in the town that I taught in, and hearing that from her and just hearing her talk about what her experience was like as a student in my class was just one of the sweetest things. So I would encourage you all to write a letter to your teacher. You could email it to her, or you could write it out and drop it in an envelope and stick it in the mail. Send it to Madison. It's 319 West Nebraska, Spokane, Washington 99205. And I know how much all of your teachers would love to hear from you, and just to know that the work that they do is important and valued. So I would encourage you to do that. The second part, Mother's Day. So I'm going to send a link in your Teams to this message, but it's a Mother's Day card that you can make. It says, Mom, And then it says, wow, Mom. So this is pretty simple. I'm going to walk you through it real quick, but the directions are also in the thing that I'll send to your teams. You take a piece of paper, you fold it in half hot dog wise. Excuse me, hamburger. I always get mixed up on that. Hamburger, hot dog. Hamburger. So it's like this. And then you quickly write out, and I'm going to do this fast, so it's not going to be that neat. Mom. And the important thing with this is that you keep it connected at the top here, right? So there's my pretty sloppy mom. You take your scissors, and I'll just cut the top part of this to illustrate for you. You cut it along those lines. And there you have it. There's Mom. And on the other side, again, whoops, sorry, got to cut a couple more lines. I guess if you're doing this with me, then it's okay to take the time and do it right now. But you don't need to rush. You can just see what I'm doing. And then create your own. So again, there's Mom, and then there's wow, Mom. So that's the way you create the design of the card. So once you've done that, then what I did was I just traced the edges with a black marker, and then I started doodling. So I made my O into a flower, I made a few little vines up there, just some lines with circles in between, a heart. Same thing, just some doodles along the edge of this, just some straight lines, a little flower. And then, because I did them in pen, I just traced them on the inside. So this is exactly the same as this. I just traced it through the paper. Same thing here, just a little bit of doodling on this Mom part. And then I actually think I'm going to give this to my mom. I'm just going to write a message to her kind of in and around these designs. And then I'm going to take a colored pencil or something like that and do a little coloring in there too. So there's an idea for a card for your mom for Mother's Day to go with writing a letter to your teacher for Teacher Appreciation Week. All right, I adore you all. Hope to see you soon.